we are going to be sharing with you some of the great life advice that we got from Satoru Iwata himself, personally,
the man himself.
It's kind of amazing that we were able to have this relationship with Mr. Iwata, so we're going to tell you all about that in this episode. But before we go into that, we'd like to say thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this episode.
That's right. Yes, we get some questions from time to time of, we know that you got to know Mr. Iwata a little bit, in kind of a more intimate sense than just in a big meeting or just seeing him walk down the hall. Like, we had private meetings with him. He would come to our office quite often.
Right.
So very glad to share some of that wisdom that he shared with us.
Exactly.
And I think it's something that you can apply just to your life in general.
Yeah, and it's something that's really stuck with us and it will probably stick with us probably for our whole lives.
Right.
And even when we talk to other people that have had the great opportunity of working closely with Mr. Iwata, like Reggie, our great mentor, he always brings up stuff that Mr. Iwata has taught him, and I just feel very lucky to be in that circle of just the great Iwata knowledge that's been passed down. So, yeah.
That's right. We have some great stuff on our YouTube channel, which you should check out. We have continuing to post our game collection.
Boxes and boxes of games just come in and out of the studio. It's ridiculous.
One day a box goes out, the next day another box comes in.
Every day it's like, I brought these games back, and then I get another text message from you. Oh, I've found the other games. I've boxed up the next section of this collection to show. It's crazy.
Well, it's good for me on multiple levels. I like showing it off.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, it's making me get more organized.
That's true.
And it's not that it was a total mess before, but there were some things. It's like, oh, why is this in this box?
Yes.
Let's get this in order.
Exactly.
So I got to make sure I got it all right before I bring it in.
Right. So we are sharing our GameCube collection.
Yes, that video's out now.
Yeah. That video is really interesting because GameCube was a bit of a different time period for us.
Yeah.
Like, we weren't really working in the industry during the GameCube era, and we were like kind of kids ourselves, I guess.
That was like my first job, was like the tail end of the GameCube. I did work on a couple GameCube games.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't working yet.
I mean, you were born in 2002. Like, you were just
I was a baby.
You were just a baby child.
I was just a tiny baby
playing this Mario Sunshine.
Sucking on a
No wonder
GameCube
you love
controller. But it's such a great mix of sort of that very formidable part of your life, and really remembering some of the great multiplayer games on the GameCube was my big realization after going through all the games that we had in that collection. Is like, dang, this system is like the GOAT in terms of multiplayer games. Like, you had some good stuff, and it made me miss it. It made me want to play it again. So anyhow, check out that video. It's really interesting, very nostalgic.
But the next box that has come in today, this video's up. We've done that.
Yeah.
Is the Wii.
I know.
And
This is going to be an interesting one for me.
That's another big one. That's another good one. You actually say you have some contributions for this one, which I was shocked at.
I have contributions for this one. This is a really interesting one. I have some Wii stories that we'll save for when we shoot the video. But that was my big transition into like not working in games to working in games. The Wii era was when I entered into working in video games. So yeah, it was a really interesting time in my life, but I'm excited to go through the Wii stuff. I took a peek inside the box that you brought in today, and there was some good stuff in there.
You bet. So there's one game that I realized I got rid of that's kind of a nothing for me, but it's going to upset you. I won't say what it is. We got to go through the process and do that.
Very upset with you.
That video will probably be out next week.
Yeah.
We can't rush these.
No. We got one editor. It's me. I've been editing nonstop these videos for like weeks and weeks.
What have you been doing?
I've been editing other videos.
I just kick my feet up.
You're just organizing games in your garage. I'm in the mines, the editing mines, the content mines. Speaking of editing, we do have our next Super Kitten Krysta 64. Because we were going through all of these game collections, and then we got so many comments from people that are like, oh my gosh, your collection is so rare, like, wow. Like, a bunch of games media wrote about the 3DS and DS collections and like all the rare stuff that we had in there. We got like a little, I don't know, we had a crazy thought, I guess. We were like, should we open some kind of retro game store and like get into this more? Because we do love shopping for retro games. We went to like the Portland Retro Gaming Expo. We go to like retro game stores in our area all the time. We've made videos about it. We know, Chris Kohler, who is like the retro games guy, who's always talking it up, like this whole, lifestyle of trading and reselling and like looking for gems and stuff. So we were like, should we do this? So we are doing some business research in our next Super Kitten Krysta 64. We are talking to an owner of an actual retro game store to see, like, is this a viable business?
So what you said is absolutely correct. I also had been getting on YouTube this video just recommended over and over. And the thumbnail was this guy who's behind the counter at a game store, like in big text. It was like, never open a game store. And it did make me wonder. I watched that video. It was very insightful. I think people see that as a fun thing. It's like, well, how could you not make a ton of money on that?
I definitely see it as a fun thing.
People want this, these games, the prices are through the roof. You're always setting some new record.
Right. Like, look at the rare things you have in your collection.
Right.
Yeah,
but he did shed some light on kind of the dark underbelly of what it means to do this.
Yeah.
And there were some things that I did expect, some things that I did not expect, and we had a similar conversation with the store that we went to, and we sat down with that owner, and he had some perspectives that I did not expect, and kind of his motivations for opening a game store were also maybe not exactly what I expected. Like one of the first things he said is like, this is not nostalgia. This is art.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
I was really surprised by that because I didn't expect that at all from just that first question of like, what made you want to get into this?
Right.
I really didn't expect it. And then, learning a lot from what it means, what you kind of have to give up, to do this, to treat it like a business and have it be something that you can, pay the rent and live off of is a very different beast than you collecting all these games and then making a video about it and being nostalgic about it. So we definitely learned a lot. But we hope that you learned something too watching this video because it is a very interesting thing that I think crossed a lot of people's minds. Like, should I do this?
Right. Well, the other thing, I don't think this was in the video, this was maybe after we've stopped filming, so his store is located very close to San Jose State University. So he's like, I've just got these, 20-year-old kids coming in here all the time, and therefore the GameCube games are in high demand, the N64 games are in high demand.
Xbox 360.
And it's true, like those sections are very small, because he's like, I can't keep this stuff in stock. But the other thing he said was, there's been this resurgence of VHS tapes with college students. That I might need somebody to explain this to me.
He was talking to somebody about it, and basically these college kids were coming in buying old like CRT televisions with like the video.
You've got one of those.
I got one.
You still
of
have
those.
that, right?
I think I still have.
You should bring that in.
I should bring that in. We can play Smash.
We need that
on the GameCube.
Yeah.
And like that was what we were using when we were in college, right?
Yeah.
And like that was our life. But it seems like kids these days that are in college now want to go back to that. It's kind of like someone was like, "Oh, it's like how you collect records now," and that was something that I collect records now, and that was something that my parents did or whatever. So
I should talk. I still have like a ton of my old CDs that I refuse to part ways with.
Oh yeah,
where it's like I guess these things. But I always just view VHS as like kind of a junk
a really
technology.
lost technology.
Like a really like not great technology that we kind of had to suffer through.
I really think that people are just longing for a simpler time. It seems like I follow this is so random. This is like totally a tangent now, but I follow this Instagram account called like Slow Tech.
Oh.
But basically it's just photos and videos of like really old appliances. It's like a coffee maker from like 1951 or something like that. And everything is like slower and looks a little bit more like dated.
You need that wood-paneled alarm clock.
It's like, exactly. It's like that kind of stuff. But there's something very comforting about it. Like it just feels very simple. It doesn't feel like it's like stealing your data or like, it's like, it's like, oh no, if something goes wrong, like my identity is gone. Like something crazy, like I'm going to get bullied on social media.
Oh no.
Someone's going to like mean tweet me with this like paneled alarm clock. It just feels so different now. So I think, anyhow, that was what these college kids might be experiencing. We saw tons of college kids, even on like weekday, coming through to get to get exactly that. GameCube games, Wii games.
Every time I go to that store, I'm always surprised of like these people are not all my age. Like some of these people are quite young.
Really young.
And they're going through like, Genesis games and stuff. Like, this is great.
Yeah.
But I kind of wonder like what is the process that got them to this? It's very interesting.
It is really interesting.
I should say so this came out a little bit later in the month than we typically put out the Super Kitten Krystas because there was another store that we were going to do it with suddenly closed down. It literally closed down. So again, reinforcing the point that this is a challenging,
volatile
business.
Yes, exactly. Right. Yeah, we were gonna do it with them, and they had to they're like, we're having a closing sale.
Like, okay.
Well.
Yes. Anyway.
Yes. Anyway, speaking of retro games, though, we did play an all-time classic retro game for our April Spoilercast.
The April Spoilercast is out. Chrono Trigger. Check that out. Notification Squad and Patreon tiers get that included with the subscription. You can also get it as a one-off video or audio in our Patreon shop.
Yeah.
But the time is here to reveal what the May Spoilercast is. I saw some people online saying, okay, the May game is going to be Paper Mario. No, that's the June game.
Because we can't finish Paper Mario.
Paper Mario comes out like May 23rd, right? 22nd or 3rd?
Something like that, yeah.
We got to finish the game, record a podcast, get it out by the end of the month. So that'll be the June game.
Yes.
There will be no mystery around the June game because it is Paper Mario.
Exactly.
May,
that will give everybody time to play that game too.
May, though.
We four options.
So the four options, the four finalists were the original Metal Gear Solid, a game you've never played, as I understand it. Hellblade 2, a new game coming out for Xbox this month, looks cool. Eiyuiden Chronicle, the big RPG, just came out. You've actually been playing that. We're going to talk about that later on. And then Fallout New Vegas, inspired by the hit TV show.
Yeah, we've been watching I've been watching. I finished this first season of the show, and we were like, oh my gosh, should we play Fallout? So, the big winner.
So the reveal,
the May Spoilercast is.
The May Spoilercast game is Metal Gear Solid. Wow.
Woohoo!
Play the little codec music.
You're correct. I have never played this game. And I really have never played any Metal Gear game like beginning to end. I have dabbled a little bit. I've watched other people
What are the ones you've dabbled in?
I think 3.
3? Yeah.
For sure 3.
3 is a good one.
Yeah, for sure.
Those odd numbers.
Yeah, I don't know if I played 2. I don't think I did, actually.
If you did, you would remember it because it's weird.
It was weird? Okay, then I didn't play. Then definitely 3.
Yeah.
And yeah, we were talking about this, how I just don't have like a huge affinity for Snake, and like I don't know much about him as a character because I didn't play these games really, from beginning to end. And so now I'm kind of excited to...
Well, you will soon.
To like learn all about him,
right?
Right. Yeah.
I played it on the plane. I played like the first hour or so on a flight, and I was like, this still really holds up, which was why I wanted to put it on our list and kind of pushed it to be the game.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start a new save. That game's not that long.
Yeah.
If you want to play along with us. They just did that collection that came out last year. You can buy those games individually.
Right.
Not too much. So yeah, hopefully people play along with us and check out that Spoilercast. Will be out around the end of May.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Cool. We are moments away from sharing our great story about the life advice from Mr. Iwata. But first, we got to say, this episode is sponsored by Squarespace.
Thank you.
Squarespace is the all-in-one website platform to help you stand out and succeed online. Whether you're just starting out or managing a growing brand, Squarespace makes it easy to create a beautiful website, engage with your audience, and sell anything from products to content to time, all in one place, all on your terms.
I love Squarespace. I can't live without it because I literally had to do this for our consulting website.
That's right.
I am not a web designer. I have no idea how to make a website. I don't know why I was tasked to do this. You told me that I had to.
I had to kick my feet up again.
You were like, I don't know how to do this. You figure it out. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Thank goodness for Squarespace because they make it so easy for you to create your own website. They have all of these great design tools. The system that just helps you like build.
It's very intuitive.
Yes. And your site looks really professional. Like they have all these things that makes it easy for you to drop in graphics, move text around, just do all these things to tailor it to your brand.
They call it the Squarespace blueprint, and I think that's so important unless you are like a lifetime web designer of like how do I even get started? So making it kind of visually intuitive, easy to get what you want, where you want it. all those tools are right there. And like you were saying, like you can integrate so many cool like assets, like videos, trailers, stills, whatever you want. There's so many cool things that you can do with websites these days. And Squarespace lets you do all that stuff.
Exactly.
And of course, it doesn't matter how good it looks if you don't know what people think about it. So Squarespace gives you all these cool analytics. You can see, how people are enjoying your site. What are they actually doing? How long are they sticking around? All that stuff.
What are they clicking on? It's really important.
Very important data to help you make it even better.
Right.
And we're going through that. We're making some tweaks.
We actually are making tweaks to our website right now
at the
based
moment.
on this. Yeah.
And those are going great too. So thank you, Squarespace. So check out squarespace.com for a free trial. And when you are ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/KitKrysta to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain.
We'll put the link right over here and also in the description below.
All right, here we go. The story time.
Yes.
So we were in the Nintendo of America Redwood City office, and Mr. Iwata was a frequent visitor.
He really was.
You may be surprised. I mean, we were not a big office, but he was kind of, for many years, on this kind of perpetual global tour.
He really was, yeah.
Where he would just travel from one Nintendo office to the next and spend a couple days there and just talk to the people and see what was going on. So it was not a super unusual occasion to see him, walking around, chatting people up in a meeting.
Right.
Which was a really, I think, special opportunity that we had.
It's true because, you kind of feel like at most companies, the person that's at the very, very top is very unreachable by the majority of employees. This person just seems inaccessible. That is the complete opposite of Mr. Iwata. And that was something that was just very unique for him. And later on, when we were reading books about him after he passed away, like the Iwata Asks book that came out, like there was a whole chapter about his very unique, like just mentality and thought process around the importance of one-on-ones, meeting with people in a one-on-one setting, like getting to know people and their motivations. That was something that was actually like an ethos for himself. And we saw that very personally play out when we were working with Mr. Iwata, because he would do that. He would come to our office. I would say like every couple of months he'd be in our Redwood City office. He would always make time to have meetings, throughout the day of different sizes. Sometimes it was like, a meeting with just sort of our communications team. Sometimes it was meetings with one or two of us on a particular topic. But he was there. Like he physically was there to do these.
Yeah, I remember a couple times, like he would have a one-on-one with our boss, who was the head of our, communications department.
Yeah.
And she was like, a lot of these topics that we're going to go through, they're ones that you're working on. So you're just going to join my one-on-one with Mr. Iwata
and that happened a lot.
And take him through this stuff.
Yeah.
And ordinarily, like that would be kind of a nerve-wracking thing of like, oh my gosh, I'm going to present to the top guy. Like, what's that going to mean? But like, he's definitely like paying close attention and has a lot of questions. But he's just such a personable person and wants everybody to do their best. Like they were very like almost relaxing meetings just to take him through this stuff.
Yeah, he was so, he just had this like curiosity about him, even when he was upset with you or like upset at the situation. He was never like upset personally with any of us, but he was, even if he was frustrated or upset at the situation, he really had this like genuine curiosity about like, well, what happened exactly? Or like,
what made you go down this path?
Yeah, why did we go down this path? And what did we learn? It wasn't really like, you messed up, like that kind of thing. But he really, and when something was going really well too, same reaction. It's like, well, what happened? Why is it going so well?
Or is it replicable for us to continue this thought process, which led to this good result?
Exactly.
Like, that was very much a focus for him.
Yeah, so he never stopped at like, you messed up, this is terrible, or like, you did great, this is wonderful. It was all about like, well, what led us to these conclusions? And yeah, I always found, talking to him directly to be very, like, out of all of the executives that we had, like, he was not the one that I was, like, terrified of. I always knew that he was going to be asking the right
Reasonable.
questions. Reasonable. Like he would be, he would probably be able to provide very good counsel.
Take the time to really understand what you were saying instead of making like a snap judgment.
Yeah, him and Reggie both were like that. And I was...
Well, that's why they were such good friends.
Exactly.
Like, they really had like such a same perspective on all this.
Right, and like that if you went to him and shared something with him, like he will help you.
Yeah.
He will be able to give you like good advice that's actually usable. So I was always excited to like talk to him about stuff because like, okay, I'm sure he can make it like better, or he can tell me like what, if anything, that I can change to make this a stronger idea. Like he always seemed like that kind of person, even though he was like the boss, you know?
The other thing I wanted to say about his visits is, again, like he was on this constant around the world tour. So it's not like he was coming to see us and then going back home for, weeks at a time. Like he was coming from Europe, or he was coming from Japan, stopping there, and then continuing on to Europe.
Must have been exhausting.
And then on to it's like, I can only imagine like how tiring this must have been for him.
Right.
And all of the visitors from Japan, they did this thing where the flights landed at like 10 in the morning. And they would just come into the office and do a full day.
Yeah.
And someday, that's really hard. Like, it's a long flight, it's like 10-hour flight. Obviously, he's flying, first class or whatever, but still that is an exhausting thing to do.
And just jumping from time zone to time zone is really tough.
And when we had visitors from Japan, like they all did that, but you could see some of them like couldn't make it through the day. Like
he always made it through the day.
And then he did basically like all the meetings with Japan in the evening.
That's crazy.
Like when we were wrapping up our day, it was like, well, he's got hours and hours of video conferences lined up.
I know.
So I couldn't do that schedule on a perpetual basis like he was.
Yeah. And he always looked so nice and put together.
You never got the sense that he was tired at all.
If I got off a plane and had to go into the office,
cranky,
I would look like a mess. I'd be like in my sweatpants, like full gremlin.
Off the plane in a suit.
He's in a three-piece suit. Like he looks all like his hair is all perfect, and he's like
I don't get it.
He looks super like alert and like fresh. I'm like, how are you doing this? Like, how many cups of coffee have you had? You know?
I don't know.
He always had like all those devices with him too. That was his favorite.
The multiple Pokewalkers was my favorite.
The multiple Pokewalkers. He also was like a lover of Apple anything.
Yes.
So he would have like 14 laptops and like the 3 phones and like
and before
all the things.
Before Nintendo started making mobile games, that was kind of like a no-no in some ways, because it's like, well, now they have the iPad, like they're competing with us, like maybe we should shy away. But he was appled out.
He was appled out.
Yeah,
like
he was like,
it was like Apple like threw up on him.
But really funny. So again, like he had just a slew of meetings, and a lot of those were like one-on-ones with a lot of the senior leaders. But he would always find time to get the whole office together, to take us through something. Whether it was some upcoming project to give us his perspective. Another thing that he really liked to do was take us through like research.
Oh my gosh, the research.
Like he was always getting like these very, very intensive, detailed research reports. That he would spend like an hour going through the minute details. It
was really interesting though.
Yeah.
Because you can tell that he was just so passionate.
He was geeking out on this stuff.
He would geek out on it. And he was like very data-driven kind of person, like mentality. And like, it would just be like, oh, here comes Mr. Iwata's charts. And it would be like, he would plug in his Apple laptop, you know, and then there would be like, at least like 20 charts. And he'd be like, look at this little
He's like, look at this. We increased our share of women aged 24 to 36 in Belgium. Isn't that fascinating? What are the reasons why?
What are the reasons why? Oh, because Professor Layton launched in this time period and blah, blah, blah. And we'd just be like in awe of him geeking out over these crazy charts and graphs. But he loved that. So he definitely take us through that. And he would also like listen to us about like what our region is doing, like what is going on in, obviously he's doing his world tour, so he would do the same thing in Europe and things like that as well. But it's like, share your region's, successes and failures. He would never say success, but your highs and lows or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
But anyway, one of these times he came and visited, he said, I want to share something with you that is like not related to any product or, anything having to do with the Nintendo business, but it's just kind of something of a mindset, that he has been reading about and learning about. He's also always reading. Like, he always tells, like, here's like the 5 books that I read in the last month. Everybody should check these out.
Yeah, he always brought some books too for us too. Like,
right.
we would always
leave
read
them
those
behind.
books.
Yeah. But again, this is something from psychology that, again, I've been reading about and really clicked with him, because it's like, this is a lot of kind of how I view things.
Right.
And I think it's beneficial for the company to understand this as well, and where possible, try to adopt this sort of mindset.
Right.
So this, in kind of academic terms, this is called locus of control.
Right.
Which I did study some psychology in college, and I could definitely understand and recognize some of where this was coming from. And it's a very simple idea, which is, there's a couple different ways when something happens to you of how you can process that and how you can interpret why it happened to you.
Right.
And basically, if you have an external locus of control, the thinking is, this thing happened to me because of forces beyond myself.
Right.
It was due to nothing that I did. The world just came together in such a way that I was in the middle of this thing happening.
Right.
So,
and then you also can't change it. Like, the whole idea is like you're like a victim of the outside sources doing things to you.
Right. Kind of in the positive sense, it's I was lucky. I was just lucky that this good thing happened to me.
Or I was unlucky because this bad thing happened to me.
Well, on the flip side, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm a victim, or I'm so unlucky.
Yes.
Because, like, gosh, certainly nothing that I'm doing could have any influence on these chain of events at all. It's just, the world is doing its thing, and I'm just kind of wrapped up in it.
Right.
And then the flip side of that is the internal locus of control, where it's, you are in control of your destiny.
Your destiny,
basically. Where, if a good thing happened, a lot of that is probably due to the work that you put into it, or the perspective that you had, or the insight that you had.
Yeah.
You really do have a lot of control over that.
Yeah.
And then again, like, on the opposite of that, like, if something bad happened, like, you really should look internally and understand, like, did something go wrong? Did I misread a situation?
Right.
What is it? And he's like, I definitely have this internal locus of control where I believe that the things that I do and that happen to me are impacted by me.
Right.
And I think this is a good mindset for the company to have.
Right.
Because, we're in this big industry, like, there is a lot happening, we have competitors, and a lot of times you can say, like, oh, well, we didn't know Sony was going to do that, or, oh my gosh, this game that Xbox put out is so incredible, how can we compete with that? But if you look at it from a different perspective, there's always something that you can do.
Right. And it was really interesting because I think people took this in some different ways. Like, some people were very, like, anti this mentality because it feels like you have to be responsible for everything that's going on.
It's basic accountability.
Yeah, but that is exactly right. But I think that it is very basic accountability. But the way that I think he presented it to everybody, it was like some people had like a very adverse reaction to it because it was like, well, how can you expect me to be able to take responsibility for everything that happens here? If something fails, like, sometimes it really isn't my fault. And people don't want to bear that responsibility. And it's hard to look internally sometimes at yourself to say, oh, what did I do wrong? Because that's a really hard thing to do. And I can actively see people listening to this and thinking, like, I don't want to do that. It's really hard.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean, it can be uncomfortable to allow yourself to kind of get examined and examine yourself in that way, where like, oh, this thing that felt just like, bad luck, like, did I actually have some sort of a role in that? But
exactly.
when you do actually examine it, like, you're guaranteed to find at least something.
Yeah.
Like, I have heard people say, like, any like bad thing, any like really bad thing that happens to you in your life, like a lot of the times is going to be your own making.
Yeah.
And that's maybe a very severe way of looking at things.
Right.
And maybe not always is the case, but I think there's a kernel of truth to that as well.
I think that everyone does have a certain level of control and responsibility for the things that happen in their life, you know, and it is really, really hard though to look at yourself that way and not just blame the universe. But that was what he was forcing us to do.
Right.
And then later on, this was way before like some of the very sort of iconic Mr. Iwata things happened, like him taking the pay cut, for example.
Right.
This was like years before it.
Yeah.
And so we had all kind of heard that this was his way of thinking, his mindset. He would kind of hammer this over and over again as we were going through these years of launching products and doing things at Nintendo. Like, we were all trying to be as good as Mr. Iwata, but we could never live up to that standard because he was so perfect. And sometimes, you know, it was hard for us to do this. And then you would see him in practice doing this. You know, like, he really did take responsibility by giving himself a huge pay cut.
Yeah, in the most, like, hardcore way possible.
Yeah, or like all the other things that he did. You know, when he would go out and do interviews and just say very specifically, yeah, we did not do this well, you know, or he would tell us very specifically, like, there was many meetings, you know, tough meetings after, you know, big reveals at E3s where it's like, this did not go well. You know, we need to look at ourselves and understand why this did not go well, but this is not good, you know? And so it was like very much a way that he practiced, in his life. It wasn't just words, you know. He wasn't just like saying stuff to say stuff. He really was like living this, and it was like kind of crazy to see, honestly, because it's like you can't believe it until it's actionable. You know? So
there were some other things where you would see this mentality shining through. Like, we've talked often about how when a game comes out and does not perform to the expectations, it's never just like, you know, wipe your hands like, well, better luck next time, on to the next one. It was like, no, we are going to try as hard as we can to turn this around and make it into, you know, the success that we had hoped it would be.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that was for naught, and we weren't really able to change the trajectory of those very much at all. But that was always the mindset of like, well,
we have to try.
We got off to a rough start, but there's always more that we can do.
Right.
And darn it, we're going to do it.
We're going to try, we're going to do it. And that's why, like, some of those things seem very like, well, this is too late. Why did you even do this now? Like, there was a lot of stuff like that that happened with products that didn't have, like, the best start. You know, like 3DS, Wii U, like, all of those things kind of had, like, rocky starts. And then, like, years later, it's like, we got the games now or something. And it's like, you know, it's like, okay, better late than never kind of thing. That was definitely part of that, like, mentality that Mr. Iwata was sharing that seeped in on, like, the company business level as well.
Right.
So... yeah.
So yeah, like that was definitely like the takeaway of, you know, if you're working on something and it's not going well, or, you know, just the business in general, like before we even think of pointing a finger or looking outside of the company or at any sort of internal force, like we need to really scrutinize. You need to scrutinize yourself and we need to scrutinize ourselves.
Yeah.
Because let's not even think beyond that first.
Yeah. It gives you tough skin for sure.
Yeah.
I think we do this now.
This is definitely how I look at things, so I was like, right on.
Yeah.
but yeah, that's so interesting to hear that like some people were not down with this.
Some people were definitely not down with this.
Oh.
I definitely had to get around to this because it's really it's a hard thing to do. You know, it's a very human reaction to say like, oh, I just got shot down by the universe. There's nothing I could have done.
Yeah.
You know? But it's much harder for you to look very deeply at your actions and the path that you chose and the reasons why you did certain things and ask yourself, did this lead to the right result for me? And if not, what am I going to do in the future to change it? You know? Mm-hmm. That's a lot harder than saying like, well, I just bad luck. You know? So, so I mean, this is something that, you know, I was really, like, I was learning a lot about myself, and obviously, like, seeing Mr. Iwata just, like, living this every day was very inspirational because you're like, okay, he's just, like, he's just not telling you this because he wants you to do it. Like, he is doing it every single day.
Yeah, he strongly believes this.
And he is doing it sometimes in like you said, in the most like dramatic and hardcore way possible. It's like, okay, I gotta try. I gotta at least try. You know?
Right.
So yeah, but he had so many amazing sort of lessons that were beyond like, let's launch this product, you know, which was just such a special thing about him. And he always wanted to share it with people. Like, he just had like so many of these bigger ideas that he would share with people, and it just went beyond like, let's you know, be good employees of this company, but you know, just let's be good people. So I really appreciated that about him.
And you know, after he passed away, it's not like we never saw any of the leaders after that. Like, they definitely came and you know, they were, you know, hanging out with us, but it was definitely not as often. It was definitely much more like down to business.
Exactly.
What is kind of the matter at hand? What is the next priority for us? Let's focus on that. So, you know, looking back, just feel so lucky to have had a chance to you know, spend time with him and kind of hear firsthand his perspective on all this stuff, which extends far beyond business.
Exactly. And some things that will just, I think, stick with us forever. But yeah, we were so lucky to be there.
Yes. Okay. We have a Never a Minute segment this week. So there were some new NSO games that came out for Nintendo 64 last week. They maybe were not the games that people were hoping for. Maybe. So we are taking matters into our own hands. And we are going to be drafting the next Nintendo 64 games to join Nintendo Switch Online. We're going to be doing 10 picks. You have been saying for a long time, we need to do more drafts. We should do more drafts.
But I don't know what a draft is.
I've come to learn quite quickly that you don't know what a draft is at all.
I don't. You had to explain it to me like 3 times. I'm still a little bit confused, but you did write down the order, of which we will pick.
We flipped a coin.
Oh, I have a video of us flipping a coin. I will insert the video here. It's very official.
We're doing a snake draft, which means basically it's like one person goes, then the next person picks twice, then twice. It makes more sense if you have a bigger group of people. If somebody like, oh, they had to wait until, you know, the 10th turn to pick, so they, when it goes back around, they get it again to make it more fair.
I see.
Because otherwise you can really be out of luck.
Okay.
But anyway, I got the first pick.
Okay. You're picking Smash, aren't you?
Let me consult my top secret list here. Yes, the first game that's drafted, maybe a bit anticlimactic, Super Smash Brothers.
You're gonna pick. I knew it!
I'm gonna write it down. I mean, the first pick is often anticlimactic for a reason. Because there's one thing that is just, you know, above and beyond everything else. I do have my second pick. I'm almost certain you don't have it on your. You don't even have it on your list.
You better believe I have a big list of stuff.
I actually have more than 10. I don't know why I have more than 10 games.
I do too.
I mean, we're each only picking 5, but I have. I'm
scared that you're gonna like.
I have like 12 games. Well, stop covering it up and just say, do you have a second pick?
I do.
You're on the clock.
Donkey Kong 64.
Oh wow. Okay.
I have my third pick too.
Well, take a minute and just.
No.
Do you explain? Oh, you want to do 2 and 3 and explain those together?
Yeah.
What's your third pick?
My third pick is Diddy Kong Racing.
Oh wow. Okay.
These are must-haves. Well, come on, Nintendo. We need these games desperately.
I realize that, again, you maybe have a disadvantage for this because you did not have a Nintendo 64 growing up.
But these are the 2 games that I played a lot at my friend's house. Definitely Diddy Kong Racing, because that was one of those ones where it's like a good party game.
Oh,
you know?
I have strangely limited experience with that game. Also,
really?
Also pretty limited with Donkey Kong 64. I never owned those games.
64 I played definitely, but I did not play as much as Diddy Kong Racing.
Really?
But Donkey Kong 64 I think is a game that I would love to replay as well. So that's why I picked that. I do. I kind of want to play more like older Donkey Kong games these days.
All right.
I just kind of like have an itch to do it.
Okay.
I don't know why. Maybe because you like convinced me that we should have the year of
Donkey Kong.
The year of Donkey Kong. Now I'm like, let's play all the old Donkey Kong games.
So back to back, the thematic pick. I like that.
Yeah,
that's
very
great.
thematic. Now you're 4 and 5.
I have the 4th pick.
Okay.
Which is going to be Star Wars Shadows of the Empire.
I knew you were going to say that. I didn't put any Star Wars games on mine because I knew you were going to take care of it.
Well, you can take it.
I don't want to.
That could have been your second pick.
I don't like Star Wars.
The steal of the draft is here. It's Star Wars Shadows of the Empire. Now, this is a game that I did play, like, into the ground.
Okay. Do you think it'll hold up, though?
So I bought the PC version of it recently.
Oh.
It's on PC. I don't know why. It's on PC.
Weird.
It is not super compatible with the Steam Deck because some of those older games.
Yeah.
I don't know how well it would hold up, but I definitely would want to play it again. I played this game so many times, and it could make some good sense for Disney / Lucasfilm to get this out there.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they are all about now kind of filling in the Skywalker timeline.
The timeline, yes,
so
exactly.
This starts, believe it or not, with a Hoth level. There's a Hoth level, snow speeders.
I don't know what that is.
In a Star Wars game. Where the walkers in the snow, you got to go around and tangle them up and make them fall down.
Okay.
But it has an original story with an original character that's focused around that time frame, which was really cool. They did a whole big thing. Like I think they had like books that came out. This was a big like multimedia launch back in the mid to late 90s, and I was very smitten with this game. This was when
Star Wars... super into Star Wars also though at that time?
Yes, and this was a time where Star Wars media had really started to slow down. I think there were maybe rumors of like, oh, this prequel thing. I think the first one of those came out in '99, so we were still a few years away.
Yeah.
But there were some definite dead years of Star Wars fandom where it's like, are we ever getting anything else out of this? Or are we just going to be rewatching these movies forever?
Yeah.
So this movie, this game, I love this game, and whether it's janky or not, I would still enjoy it.
Okay.
Yes. So that's my fourth pick. My fifth pick is going to be Perfect Dark.
Okay, that was on my list. Not a game that I like, but I know is a game that people want. I just want it to be like a hero.
I like GoldenEye better, although I can acknowledge that this is like a more ambitious game.
Yeah. I like GoldenEye better.
It definitely. Made some cool additions to the multiplayer formula that GoldenEye had.
Right.
I love the briefcase gun that you can just throw out and be a turret. I had a lot of success with that. Cheesing.
It's kind of bad with this game. Is my problem.
Yeah.
It wasn't the best. It was harder, I think, than GoldenEye.
If they do re-release this game, they need to not make the same mistake with Golden. They need to have some presets for the controls.
I was going to say, the controllers were really tough.
To make it be actually playable out of the gate. And I did the work and I spent 15 minutes reconfiguring all those controls.
Here. Yeah, all of us did.
And once I did, it played great. But how many people are going to do that?
Right.
They're going to try it once and be like, this is busted.
I reconfigured all my controls, and then I also didn't really stick with it for too long. So they need to do a couple of things.
Please. Go a little bit further with that.
A little bit further.
Okay.
I have a controversial 6 pick.
Okay.
Because I don't know.
Is this a reach? Are you reaching?
I'm reaching.
Okay.
The original Animal Crossing, which is Animal Forest.
Oh, the Japanese?
Yeah.
Okay, so how is that? What are the circumstances of this coming over?
They would need to translate it.
So they would localize it.
Yeah. They're not gonna.
Okay.
It's Dobutsu no Mori.
Dobutsu no Mori, yes. Well, if I was not considering unlocalized games to be on the table, you could argue that could be like the number one pick.
I would love this to be the number one pick, but it's just so hard.
It could have been the number 2 pick, but no, you chose Donkey Kong 64.
Oh, Donkey Kong 64. I do like Donkey Kong 64.
Wow.
I think that was more likely. That's more likely.
Okay.
But yeah, I feel like if they could localize it just straight. It's so hard though. That's a hard game to localize anyway. But
Google Translate. It's the preferred way of localizing games.
Just use the AI to localize it.
Yes.
And then we'll have this. It's
localization by Gary P. Thompson, GPT, for short.
Put him in the credits, guys. Yes. But wouldn't that be great? Because this is a game that I've never played.
Sure.
And I would love to see where Animal Crossing started, because we really didn't, in the US, we didn't get that experience.
No.
You know?
Okay.
Okay.
Interesting.
So that is, what is that, number 6?
That was number 6. Very interesting pick.
Number 7, I'm going to take one of yours, I think. Castlevania 64.
That was not on my list.
Really?
No, those games were not that fun.
Really? I like this one.
All right.
Oh, I'm disappointed that you weren't more jealous of me taking it.
You can have that.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm so surprised.
That's fine.
Why didn't you like this one? I thought it was pretty good.
The translation to 3D for Castlevania was very rocky.
Oh, no.
But yeah, that'd be a great fit.
I think so.
People would love that.
People would love that.
People would love
I would
that.
want to play it again.
For 5 minutes, people would love playing that game.
Okay, fine. All right. Okay, here we go.
My final 2 picks. Wow, this went fast. let's see. Let's check my big board here. My next pick is going to be Pilot Wing 64.
Isn't that already on it?
Is it?
I think so.
Okay, then I'm going to recall that. I'm going to do my. You check while I do my other pick.
I'm pretty sure.
Which is going to be WWF No Mercy.
Okay, that's definitely not on there.
It's definitely not.
NSO and
N64 had some
64 games.
incredible wrestling games
that
people still love to this day. I had a few of them. This was kind of my last run with wrestling.
Yeah.
And the one that I had was actually not this one. It was. Oh, it's on there?
Yeah.
All right, good thing I've already got some other games. This is why I had 11 games.
I looked at this very closely.
Was WCW NWO. And the reason I did not pick that is that the WCW no longer exists. And I don't know, I don't know what happened to it. Did WWE absorb that? Did they just go out of business?
Right.
I don't know.
There's some,
I am trying to
funky licensing things.
I am trying to live within the limits of reality here.
Yeah.
So I'm choosing WWF No Mercy.
No Mercy. Okay.
Which is kind of that ilk, and is also held in very high regard. Obviously, WWF's still going around, so now it's WWE.
Right.
Let's do that.
Okay. People would love that. You know how many people love wrestling in the gaming community?
I'm aware.
Oh my gosh.
So that's my 8th pick. My 9th pick is going to be I have two kind of fan favorite darlings that I can choose between.
Oh boy. Is it Conker's Bad Fur Day?
No. No.
Rare, another rare game?
These are actually not. I'm going to go with
Bomberman? No.
Adventure Racing.
Oh, I don't even know that game.
Which is a game that comes up a lot when people talk about their favorite Nintendo 64 games.
Really?
Honestly, I have not. This is another game I have not spent a ton of time with, but I want to check it out. I've heard the buzz. I've heard the talk.
All right.
Let's do it. Beetle, still, Volkswagen, they still exist. Get them on the blower. Write them a check.
We did the Pikachu Beetle.
Get them some Deutschmarks. Are they on the euro now? Yeah. Oh, whatever it is. Send them some.
All right.
All right, your last pick.
Ooh,
it's a hard choice,
I'm
isn't it?
conflicted, yeah, because I could do one that's like a joke pick.
Yeah.
Or I can do one that's not a joke pick. I'll do the joke pick.
No, you get the joke pick.
Mischief Makers. This is a game, of course, that we definitely had a lot of fun around trying to track it down.
Yeah.
There's drama.
We have it now.
It'd be hilarious after all that drama if they just up and put it on NSO.
Yeah.
Because then we do have a physical copy of Mischief Makers, I've got to tell you. We have not played it yet.
Right.
But that would be cool, right?
This is your joke pick?
That's my joke pick.
I mean, it's still a pretty legit pick.
Pretty legit, though.
So what was your non-joke pick going to be?
Bomberman 64.
Okay.
Would have been my more I think people are asking for that game, and it's I also had on there Ogre Battle, Doom is another.
Well, Doom, they've re-released that.
That's true, so but it's not on NSO.
It's not going to be on NSO.
Okay.
They want people to buy.
Yeah.
The one that I had that I was choosing between that and Beetle was Quest 64,
Quest,
which is another one that has kind of a cult following.
It does.
RPGs on the N64
very limited.
Few and far
Yeah,
between,
very
everybody
limited.
went to PlayStation. Okay, well that's a very
Wow.
My picks to summarize: Super Smash Brothers, Star Wars: Shadows of the Empire, Perfect Dark, WWF No Mercy, and Beetle Adventure Racing.
And mine were DK64, Diddy Kong Racing, Animal Crossing, the original Animal Forest, as it was called, Castlevania 64, and Mischief Makers. This is a good list.
We are going to put up a poll somewhere and let people vote on who had the better picks.
Yes.
I'm getting a little salty though about this localized Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
I don't know if we need to consult the committee and see if that's allowed
Fair?
within the
Is it
bylaws
fair?
of the draft. If you can just out of the
You can
blue
do that?
localize games.
I don't know. I feel like it'd be cool.
Well, of course it would be cool. There's a lot of things that would be cool.
Animal Crossing.
All right, well, we're going to find out.
Okay.
Bring any of these games. Literally any of these games, please. Please. Any other notables that did not make the cut for you?
Let me see. I had a long list. I did have Conker's Bad Fur Day.
No. I had
Rayman, The Great Escape. That's a great game. Rayman 2.
I haven't played it.
I love Rayman Legends, too, on Wii.
Okay.
I'm a Rayman fan.
I had Star Wars Rogue Squadron
I knew
and also
you would.
StarCraft 64.
StarCraft.
That's an interesting one.
Oh, you should have put that one up.
I have played that game.
That game is good.
obviously not the same as playing StarCraft
Right,
on a computer, but I
PC,
remember it being passable, maybe?
Yeah.
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 Any others for you?
No.
No.
You doubled up on some
Wow.
of mine. I had Perfect Dark on my list.
All
I
right.
had Smash on my list, obviously.
Well, this was fun.
Wow. Makes me want to actually play some real games. The 2 games that they announced, I had not heard of, so...
I mean, they're fine, but
bit
again,
obscure.
like
For me,
there are
I'm willing to
some
try 'em.
much more notable games, bigger
Yeah.
first-party games that they could do that for whatever reason they're just not. So
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know.
exactly.
Moving on now to the games we are playing.
Yeah.
Got kind of a lot again.
We do. We're still in our little indie game dabble phase right now.
There's a lot of great indie games
Yeah.
coming out. We're going to start with 2 of those. Let's start with Another Crab's Treasure,
Yes.
which is a game that I just started very briefly last night, but I think you've been playing more time on.
I've been playing it, and I've been playing it on both Nintendo Switch and PS5 just to check out.
And this is also on Game Pass.
This is also on Game Pass.
We should note, yes.
Yes. So it's on a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I started playing it while I was on the plane coming back from my trip this weekend, and yeah, it is exactly what all the descriptions are saying. It's like a Souls-like game featuring a hermit crab. It's very funny, very like well written. There's a lot of really great dialogue. There's a lot of like funny, kind of like double entendres and like little like cute little
It is
like,
very funny,
jokes
yeah.
and stuff. Almost like Simpsons-like
well-written,
jokes.
yeah.
Even on like packaging and things like that. Like there's a lot of jokes like sprinkled throughout, which makes the game super has a lot of personality. But it's really sad. You're a little crab, and because of taxes, dang those taxes, you lose your shell. And
I just have to say.
did you? Oh,
So after that happens, you got the little crab guy, and it looks like he's got like a little tail or something.
yeah.
Which made me think, I was like, have I ever seen a hermit crab without its shell, like in real life?
Okay.
So I went and Googled that.
Uh-oh.
And I really wish I didn't, because
it
it was
gross?
kind of gross.
Oh no.
It's like, yeah, there's the front half of the hermit crab that you know and love, and then there's like a little worm. It's like a worm on the other half, and obviously, like I said, that's where all the guts are, and that's what's going into this shell. But I never stopped to think, like, what's holding this thing into the shell? Like, this is nasty. I mean, it's very cute in the game. The character's super cute.
It was like Sebastian from The Little Mermaid.
But in real life, you Google that at your own peril. I was grossed out.
I'm not going to Google that. But yes, in the game, it's not disgusting. It's a very cute little crab. And yeah, you basically have to go and like try to get your shell back, or try to like figure out what you're going to do. And the guy that comes to collect your shell is like one of those like grabby shark things.
Yeah, right.
But it's really mean to you, and it's terrible, and so you like follow him down to the ocean, and the game does not like mess around. It will like right away just kind of make it really hard for you. Like you get chased by these really scary enemies like immediately, which was pretty tough. Like I died like 3 times in the very beginning. I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, so there's like you don't have a weapon at this point, and you get like surrounded by these other crabs.
You just have to run away.
I thought that was a place that you had to. I thought the game was teaching you a lesson about what happens when you die.
Oh.
Apparently, you just run through.
I
learned that the second time.
Yeah, I learned that the 3rd time. I tried to run through, and I pressed the wrong button, and I didn't jump far enough.
Oh no.
But yeah, no, the game does not hold your hand. It definitely has that kind of like Souls.
So this is they are upfront of saying like this is a Souls-like sort of game. So in that style, and it's the same thing where if you die, all your stuff is dropped there, and you've got to go back.
You got to go back and get it.
Yeah. Unlike Souls games and unlike FromSoft games, they do have a difficulty. There are a lot of options around tailoring the difficulty.
That's right.
Which right away I went to. Because there were some things about like increasing the parry window.
Oh, nice.
Increasing some of the invincibility frames when you're doing a dodge. I didn't go ahead and just like set it to easy mode, but I was like, that might be nice.
Okay.
Because I feel like games with a parry or things like that, I'm always...
Like a second late?
I never get the timing as perfect as I think I could.
I'm doing okay though. I've not changed any of the settings just yet. I've gotten like I'm in like the sort of the full-on second area now, the shoals area.
Yeah.
And I'm doing a lot of like collecting and trying to level up.
Oh, good.
And you basically get like microplastics, which is maybe like an environmental message.
Maybe?
To level up your character, your little crab character. And you do get a weapon like pretty soon after that. You get a fork, so you can do some like actual attacking.
And again, that is also like the attacks are on the shoulder buttons.
Yes.
So like when we say they are trying to emulate a Souls game, like they are really trying.
They're really
Like, don't like it's got this cute presentation, very colorful levels that you're in. But it is one of those games.
It is.
Yeah.
I was playing handheld on Switch on the plane. And it was having quite a hard time running the game. It was a little bit chuggy in many parts. Yeah. So I recommend playing this game either docked.
You tried it docked?
I've tried it a little bit docked.
And it was better?
A little bit better.
Okay.
I did play on PS5 to see it in its full glory or whatever you want to call it. It looks great. I mean, you're underwater a lot, so there's a lot of like nice graphics to look at.
Yeah.
And I do feel like it is a little challenged on the Switch, especially in handheld mode, which is a little unfortunate because I would love to play this game in handheld mode, but I did play it on PS5 and it was really nice, really smooth, really beautiful looking. So yeah, I'm gonna keep going a little bit. But you and I both came to the realization after playing this game that we are very close, about a month and some change away from the Elden Ring DLC coming out, and we're both like, oh, we better like mentally prepare for
on one
Elden
hand,
Ring,
I mean, this could be a good warm up to just get in that mentality of that kind of game.
Yeah.
But I think what my conclusion was, this is a very well made game. Maybe not the game I want to play right now, because I was like, I'm gonna throw myself into this Elden Ring. Like I kind of want
a break.
I kind of want my experience with that to be building my skills back up.
Yeah.
So I don't know how this would maybe meddle with that.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
So I'm going to hold off on this game, but I'll probably come back to it.
Yeah. I'm going to play it a little bit more. There's just so many fun indie games to try right now. I'm glad to be going back and forth between this and some other ones. So,
yes. Another one that... Have you tried this one yet?
I haven't.
You haven't. Surmount is one that is coming out this week. And this is a game that has been on my radar for a good while. They put out a demo on PC over the summer that I played and really, really liked. And this is another game about rock climbing.
Yeah.
Which is suddenly an extremely popular genre.
It is.
But it can make for some really fun gameplay.
Yeah.
What was the game that came out? Jouissant?
Yeah, that game I loved.
I did not like that game.
Oh, I really liked that game.
I did not like the climbing, unfortunately, in that game. It felt like you were very locked into, this is the one way to do it.
Okay.
And there was a lot of like trial and error of like, what is the exact angle for me to hold the stick to be able to make this move? And I did not find that to be very fun. Whereas I'm having a very good time with this because I think it's a bit more open to you coming up with different solutions to how to climb this mountain. And I also really like the presentation of it. It's very kind of, you start by making like almost like a me-esque character for yourself.
That, yeah.
And it has that kind of cartoony, very fun, really colorful, but just a lot of personality to it. And you kind of go to this like town that's at the base of this big mountain where everybody goes and they want to climb the mountain. And there's all these other sort of like side quests that you can do that are off of the mountain that are like individualized, self-contained challenges. But then they say like, well, when you're ready, you can try and climb the mountain. And there's different like stages to the mountain. And I don't know exactly what the progression is going to be. I made it to like the base camp on the first stage. And I don't know, like, do I have to keep going? Can I go back? Can I go freely from that base
to the town again?
The town? Because there are kind of like consumable items that you can get. You have like a Breath of the Wild style like stamina wheel, basically. Yep. And there are consumable items that you can get, just like in Zelda, that'll replenish those or let you go over your build, go like 25%
like the yellow
over
rings
the wheel.
Or whatever, yeah.
That ring is also your life bar. So if you fall...
So there's like bad fall damage
you will lose a chunk of your stamina meter. It's just gone.
Like forever?
No, there's things like, and you can also find things like if you find like an apple, you can eat that and replenish some stuff.
Oh, okay.
But I have had a lot of situations where my lack of life has really limited what I'm capable of doing, because I was like, I don't know if I have enough, or I have barely enough life left, because that is also my stamina to get to where I need to go. I'm having a really good time with this game. So you can use the shoulder buttons to sort of climb normally like that. You can also kind of fling yourself around in a circle and build momentum and let go.
Oh, geez. And then try to grab something?
Right. So that's kind of like one of the key mechanics that you need to figure out, is like how to swing around, when to let go, how much momentum you need. That's definitely a core thing. If you mess it up, like, you will fall. There are points where you can hook in. So if you fall, like, you'll be safe.
Plummet to your death.
You'll be safe.
Whatever. Yeah.
But there are some points where it's like, yeah, this is a leap of faith. Hopefully it works out. And that's kind of where my big question about this game so far is, like, how is the difficulty going to ramp up?
Yeah.
Because I was mentioning those self-contained stages at the base of the mountain. I did one, they were like, this is something that you can do as part of the tutorial, but it's pretty hard. You may not be able to do it. And I couldn't do it. And I'm wondering, like, how will the difficulty in this game progress?
Is there like a leveling up system? Like, the more higher up you go, the more stamina you have? No,
not that I can tell. I mean, again, you can load up on those consumable items if you want. But yeah, it does seem like it has the capability to get quite challenging. And if it's one of those things where you're falling off the mountain, like, hopefully that does not become frustrating. It has not become frustrating at this point yet, but the game does show you early on of, like, you might think you're good,
but you're not.
Wait till you see some of the stuff we've got coming your way. This is also a co-op game.
Oh, no.
I would like to play this game with you at some point.
Okay, let's try.
There's another similar game called Fred and Bread.
Yes, you and I.
Or is it Bread and Fred?
Some
combination.
Fred and Bread.
Where you're playing these penguins who are, like, tethered together.
Yeah.
And it's a game that's meant to be frustrating.
Right.
I haven't played this in co-op, so I don't know. I don't think that's the intention.
Okay,
but I want to try it, because I think it could be
friendship.
I think it could be really fun.
Okay. I'm excited. Wow.
Okay. Next. Eiyuiden Chronicles.
It's an RPG that I was recommended. We were at dinner with one of our Nintendo friends, and she was talking this game up, and so
She was a big Suikoden fan.
She was.
As well. Yes.
So she was talking this game up. This is a game and I've never tried Suikoden before, so this is my first time kind of dabbling in this series. And I am playing this on Switch, and once again, some of these newer games are running a little rough on Switch.
Bit of a theme here.
I know. You can see it's showing its age a little bit. I mean, maybe, I don't know. This one is probably the roughest yet, though, out of all the ones that I've been playing on Switch so far. The thing with this game that's really cool is you do get to collect a bunch of different heroes to join your party. That's the whole point of this game, is like you meet and you...
And that's a conceit from Suikoden as well.
That's right. It's like really cool.
100 people that you can recruit and put in your party.
Yeah. It's really cool. Like you kind of... And they let you do this right away. Like the first 4 people you meet, you get to recruit. Everybody has like really unique attacks and magic and different ways for you to shape your party to, battle the way you want and things like that. The game is really beautiful as well. It has a beautiful art style. So, parts of it I can see like very easily getting sucked into this type of JRPG. The things that I've been challenged with is that it does have these random battles, which I don't love. And I secondarily
hard to go back to
after we just talked about this, after like playing like even Chrono Trigger and some of these other more modern RPGs. It's a little bit hard to go back to that. But the problem is that coupled with the random battles, the load times on Switch is horrendous. So you're in a random battle, it's loading, and then...
Like how long are we talking? 10 seconds?
Plus. Yeah.
For just a basic random battle.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of a no-go.
Yeah, that's tough. I would like to try it on something else to see if it works better.
Yeah.
Because I think it would be fun if it didn't have a 10-second load time every time you went into a random battle. And yeah, the gameplay itself though is like really good. Like the battling is really fun. Like the story is really good so far. You're doing a lot of cool things in different environments. That's good. The monsters are really like good. The designs are really good. But yeah, it really is rough.
Well, they're trying to emulate that PS1 experience where you get a 15-second load time anytime something happens.
Okay. Nostalgia? Anyone?
Suikoden 3, I actually helped launch. I may be in the credits for Suikoden 3. I don't
Shut
know.
up.
We should go.
Are you serious?
That was people will be appalled to hear this. That was the epitome of a pack and ship at Konami.
Wow.
Like, it was just like, yep, get this game out and move on.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure it's a very niche audience, right? Well, I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, this is like, you know, for RPG heads who know, love Suikoden. So
exactly. That's why I wanted to try it.
Right.
You know, maybe this is not the best.
I don't know, but I mean, I've seen some of the other reviews and impressions out there that seem to be pretty in line with what you're saying. So I don't think you're like going out on a limb.
I know. Yeah, I've been having a lot of trouble. Like. Also, like this game, also just like the demo that we tried for that Europa game, also has like a fuzzy camera thing that's not the best, and it's making me feel motion sick because it's not loading it. It's like the camera's like shuddering, and it's making it look like super blurry.
Oh no!
So it's not me.
There have been some games that we've been getting codes for where we've asked for the Switch version, and we've been given some gentle guidance to maybe try something else. Maybe try a different version.
They're like,
lately.
We'll give you the Switch version, but
maybe you should
know that you guys like playing your Switch
Yeah.
games, and your audience love to see you guys play Switch games, but this game runs better on this other platform. So that's why I've been trying to play these games on both. You know, I'm going to give you guys the whole thing, you know?
Yeah,
That's why I played Another Crap's Treasure on PS5 and Switch, and it is a big difference, let me tell you. So I get it. Right now, I mean, the system is definitely showing its.
I will say, I played Another Crab's Treasure on the Switch. I had an okay time with it. There were definitely some moments.
Were you playing TV mode?
No, I was in handheld.
Really?
Like coming in, it was mostly like in and out of cutscenes where it would really like hitch for like a second.
Yeah.
But in gameplay itself, it's been.
Some of the battling was a little tough for me.
Again, I have not played as much as you.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
When I was like doing the lock on to an enemy, it would like shudder.
Oh, really?
Which is
that's not good.
That's not good when you're trying to play a Souls-like game.
Yeah,
it's like you lose those precious seconds of.
That'd be so frustrating if you die in that game because of a frame rate issue.
It was a frame rate issue.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little. It's a little.
That's
rough.
disappointing.
It's a little bit. Maybe play it on PS5 or Game Pass. That's fine.
Game Pass.
Yeah,
There we
play it
go.
on Game Pass.
Okay, last game is maybe out of left field for me.
like
Wario
this.
Land 4.
This is exciting for you.
Yes. So last week we talked about Anton Blast, and previously I had played Pizza Tower, and I realized, like, I don't know that much about the Wario Land series.
Yeah.
Obviously, these games were very inspired by this game in particular, Wario Land 4. I really should get more knowledgeable about this.
Right.
So I found a hot eBay auction. I picked up Wario Land 3 and 4 for $60,
not bad,
which seemed
really.
like a good deal to me. And I finished Wario Land 4 on the Analog Pocket.
Yeah.
Yes.
You said about 5 hours was
Took about
total play
five-ish
time?
hours. Yeah,
Which
I
is
played
like
it
pretty
I
reasonable.
played it over the course of like 3, full evenings playing through the game. And it's great to really finally, sink your teeth into a series like this, especially now that, again, so many games are being influenced by this.
Right.
And I don't know exactly why now.
I know, I was just going to say.
Because this game's like 20 years old.
It's also like a little bit, like the style of this game is a little bit polarizing, truly. Like the art style, like it's a little bit gritty and gross, which is cool. Yeah. I think it's cool.
If somebody was going to ask me, it's like, oh yeah, what's Wario Land 4 like? I think the first thing I would say is, well, it's pretty weird.
It's weird.
It's definitely weird.
Yeah, it's a little gross.
Yeah.
It's a little weird.
I had a good time with it, but it's definitely strange. So, it's kind of, it's a 2D platformer where you're playing as Wario. Pretty different from a Mario platformer, though, where the Mario stuff is very like, get to the end of the level. It's like, if you're going to go to the right, and they're going to be the end over there.
Flagpole or something.
Whereas in this, the levels are much more just big open areas that sometimes like have doors that connect to different sub areas. So it's very large.
It's like a Kirby level almost.
Well, even with a Kirby level, there's like get to the goal. So this is, collect. There were kind of like 4 main things that you needed to collect. And then you needed to trigger this thing at the quote end. And just like those other games, you need to run back to the beginning while a timer counts down.
Yeah.
So you're often navigating a different path back than you went to get there.
Right.
I never had a problem getting back to the starting point within that timer, which is good because that would have really annoyed me if I didn't.
I'm scared of timers. Do you think this game will scare me? Does it feel like a mad dash?
I mean, they definitely want you to feel some tension with that, but I feel like I got there most of the time with at least like 30 seconds to spare.
Okay.
Like,
I'm just traumatized from Metroid.
I was very rarely sweating. I think there was maybe one time where it got like within 10 seconds because I was doing something dumb, I think. I think it was my own fault.
I really dislike timers.
Right.
It really freaks me out.
Right. But, you know, Wario plays very differently. So he's got like the shoulder, that's kind of his main move is like the shoulder bash. But then it's also like those other games, you can hold down the R button and you'll run.
Charge.
And you'll build up momentum.
Yeah.
It's not as heavy on that as maybe these two more current games. You kind of use that more in... The game will clearly tell you, like, all right, this is a place where you're going to run. Whereas it seems to be more about the shoulder bash.
Right.
There are also these interesting transformations that Wario can do where, like, if you get hit, there's some spots where, like, snow will fall on you and you will turn into a snowball.
Oh, that's cool.
And you need to, there's a lot of, like,
environmental
puzzles.
kind of things.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
I like that.
Or there's another thing where, like, if you hit this bat enemy, you'll turn into a bat and you can fly around. You can flap around.
It's almost like a cuppy ability.
It's flapping in a way that you would not like. It's very like flaily. I've seen you react to some birds certain ways, and you would not like the flapping in this game.
I'm already getting like irked, like I'm getting like goosebumps just like thinking about it.
So there's maybe I'd say like less than 10 of those in the game that you can do these transformations for. But every kind of stage has its own like thematic to it, and some of them are very creative.
Okay.
I did one that was like a board game where you have to like hit this block that basically was like rolling dice, and like a certain thing would happen. And then to actually finish that level, you had to get a certain dice roll.
Oh, jeez.
Which sounds more
crap.
Sounds more frustrating than it was. Like you would get to the end of the board, and like if you didn't get the right roll to end on the square,
it would
kick you back.
Yeah,
it would keep hitting it to try and get. But this is all the timers counting down too.
No.
Or there was another one where there's like dominoes everywhere, and when you would trigger one of those dominoes falling down, you had to out chase it and get to the end of the dominoes before the last domino fell, and that would give you some sort of a bonus. So a lot of those are very creative, and you can tell that they were just like, anything goes, like because this game is just like a fever dream.
Yeah, it's like Mario Wonder. It seems like where it's like weird stuff.
Totally.
Yeah, which I like.
Some of those levels were a little too big for their own good, I thought, especially playing it on a system where the screen is
like
small.
Teensy, yeah.
Right, like there were some parts where I would miss one of those 4 collectibles that you have to get. And I was like,
wandering around.
I just missed that area, or it was through a door that I didn't notice, or I was like, I felt like it was no fault of my own that I missed that. It was just kind of in a weird place that I didn't get to. And maybe they want you to play it again and again, but I felt like sometimes the levels were just a little too big.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes like there's also some mechanics that are a bit too ambitious for the game. Like sometimes another thing you can do is pick things up and throw them. That mechanic doesn't always work as well as you would want it. There's some times where it's like he'll throw it, like do like a really weak throw when you want to do a powerful throw, or just some things like that.
Doesn't connect as well.
Right. But overall, I really enjoyed it, and I'm really glad that I played it. So I think Wario Land 3 is the same one that's on NSO, actually. But if I have time, I want to keep checking those out, because I've heard Wario Land 3 is an even different style of game.
Oh, wow.
That is more of maybe like a Metroidvania than 4, which is just, individual levels. So I do want to continue to explore this in the spare time that I have, because it seems like it's becoming just a more influential series overall.
It's true, yeah. It's having a renaissance for sure.
Yeah.
How was it playing on the Analog Pocket? Was it
great.
Did you like it? Did the screen look okay?
Yeah, it looked great. I mean, and there is something to be said, like...
Did it feel comfortable playing on a tiny little thing?
Yeah.
For a long period of time?
Yeah. I mean, these Switch games now, like, you might be playing them on a TV.
Right.
And I don't know if Game Boy to TV is the best translation. Like, they've had the Game Boy player and stuff where you could do that. But it does just feel right to play it on the screen that it was made for, this smaller screen. So I I had a good time doing it.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, those are the games we're playing. Let's move on to some news. And there were some juicy new Switch 2 rumors happening over the weekend that we got to talk about here. So this was reported by a site in Europe, which apparently got information from an accessories manufacturer that is probably soon to be nuked from existence.
Well, do they need them to manufacture the accessories still, or no?
Who needs accessories? I'm surprised they're even talking to these accessories people at all.
Accessories isn't like Joy-Con or
or just like making a case or making your like. Remember with like Tears of the Kingdom, like you didn't have a guide because they probably didn't want to show them the game because it was so big of a secret. We'll have the guide come out later.
Right.
Have the little cartridge case come out 6 months later. Who cares?
Yeah, who cares? Yeah.
But anyway, the points from this rumor are that the Switch 2 is larger than the original Switch.
Okay.
Joy-Cons are magnetic.
This is the thing that's gotten people talking.
We'll come back to that.
Yeah.
The Switch Pro controller is still supported. And that accessory manufacturers have touched the new system but not actually looked at it.
Yeah, this was hilarious. I actually saw this. I read further into this, and it's like they let them put their hands into like a box.
It's the Dune box.
It's the Dune box.
I saw some people making that meme, which is hilarious.
Screw the Switch 2 is hurting me.
It's Mr. Koizumi holding a needle to your neck while you while you play this Switch 2.
He's like... Oh, does it not have the snapping sound anymore because it's a magnet now?
We'll never know.
It's going to be like, it's going to be a different
I don't know. So what do you make of all this?
Oh, man. I don't know. It's like, it's anybody's, I know, it feels ridiculous to me a little bit, honestly.
In what way?
I don't know if this is...
What about this feels ridiculous?
This magnetic controller, like, I mean, some of the other stuff I think might be true, like the size and, you know, if it's supporting past accessories. There's some other stuff that came out even more about like backwards compatibility and stuff like that, and things like that seem more reasonable. But yeah, this magnetic Joy-Con has gotten me a little suspicious. I'm very I don't know. I'm skeptical, I guess.
Well, all of this sounds feasible. I guess the question is like, how big of a deal is it in the context of the whole system?
Yeah.
Because if you're using a magnet to hold a Joy-Con tighter, okay, I definitely have some Joy-Con that will just fall out of your hand if you're not holding the system the right way because the connector is worn out somehow.
Or something. Yeah.
So I was like, well, that sounds fine. Keep those more securely in place. But if that's like, you know, again, the Switch attach name is something that people have clung on to.
Yeah.
Could that be what it is? And if you kind of riff on that idea,
is that because of the Joy-Cons that are magnet?
I'm sure they have more ideas beyond a magnetic Joy-Con that would apply to that. But I'm not. It's like it sounds extremely functional to me. I'm not excited by it.
Yeah, it sounds expensive to me.
A magnet?
I think those kinds of magnets that like you use to do what they wanted to do to like keep it tight enough onto a hardware like that is actually quite pricey. Is what I've read as well. I don't know, like, if we were talking about how they're probably going to try to do things to, yeah, they're going to have to, like, raise the price probably, but they're going to try to make it accessible to, quote, everyone, you know? So, yeah, adding kind of, like, this almost feels like another, like, this, again, feels sort of gimmicky to me, if it's true. And if that just raises the price, like, I don't know if Nintendo would do that. I don't know. It feels weird. It feels weird to me somehow.
The point about it being larger makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, that one makes sense.
Now there's all these, you know, handheld PCs that are significantly large. Like when I go from a Steam Deck to a Switch, I'm like, this thing is tiny. So I do think they have. I think you know, consumer expectations have changed a little bit on that. Where like the handheld does not need to be this tiny thing. Like
but my tiny baby hands.
It can be a little bit bigger. I don't expect them to go full Steam Deck.
Yeah, I hope
but
not.
I think they can go a little bit big. And again, if that helps with the ergonomics too, I don't think that the Switch is not the most ergonomic thing in handheld mode. I personally feel.
I like it.
Again, small hands may play a role in that.
I don't want it to be too heavy. That makes me nervous. Like I can't hold it up for that long.
Yeah, the magnetic Joy-Con. Again, I need to know more of like, is this the lead thing for the new Switch? Or
my God.
Or is this just one in a dozen small refinements that they've made?
That can't be. That just can't be. That is so lame if that's the lead thing.
Yeah, I agree. So I feel like there's more to that it's kind of hard to read into.
Yeah, I don't know if I even believe it.
Switch Pro controllers supported. Great. I think that's great news.
Well, yeah,
because
that's a great controller.
So that's just a basic controller. You don't need to reinvent the wheel with that. People like that. It's got a great battery life.
Yeah, it's like touted as one of the best controllers.
Cool.
This thing needs to work, okay?
Yes. Cool. What it does imply, though, is that there's no new like tech functionality that would make this obsolete.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, that's fine.
Or maybe it's something small where it's like, yeah, you can still play with that, but if you want this other more niche feature, you got to get the new one.
It's not like a PS.
It's not a complete reinvention.
Like haptics and all this
It's
stuff.
not a complete reinvention of the controls. Is what I read into that.
Yeah.
So they were saying also backwards compatibility
with discs.
Switch.
I saw.
Game cards?
Game cards, yeah, not discs. I'm
right.
sorry, I meant game cards. Yeah, seems like there's going to be a new form factor for the Switch 2 games, but just like how 3DS had like a GBA slot or whatever,
right?
It'd probably be something like that, or maybe there's like a case that you can put into it that
or like
fits it or
the
something.
notch with the 3DS and DS
yeah,
games.
I can see them doing that's very MO for Nintendo.
Right.
What else is there on this? That's pretty much it, right?
We also got a tweet from Puro. I'll just read. To those sending me this via DM, it appears that this info has been divulged to some manufacturers and Nintendo influencers in China for a while. Such info has been mentioned in some private discussions, while my main source can't verify it. My main source.
Can't verify.
So you have one main source? I spent too much time thinking about that.
Oh gosh.
I was like, why would you say that?
Didn't say sources.
Unless you're throwing somebody off the scent. It's not worth analyzing.
That's not
but I spent too much time like, what does this mean? Why would Puro say that? Anyway.
Yeah. Rumor mill swirls.
Well, we did just put out an episode about 2 or 3 weeks ago. Nintendo Switch 2 leaks are about to get even bigger. Here we go.
Yeah, I mean, this is to be expected as you get closer to something, especially something physical, coming to fruition, coming together. You're going to get some of this stuff.
Yes.
You know? So I am still waiting until some sort of official something before I make any judgment calls. But this magnetic Joy-Con thing is raising some question marks for me.
All right. Well, we asked the good people over on our Patreon page to chime in about the Joy-Con point specifically. We asked them, basically, what do you want Nintendo to do with Joy-Con with the Switch 2?
Yeah.
And this was a really interesting poll, and it got a lot of very impassioned responses.
There's a lot of discussion.
So we'll start with the poll. 45% of the people said, start from scratch and make updates as needed. I do not care if my existing Joy-Con are compatible.
Okay.
So just blow it up, start over.
Some Joy-Con issues.
Okay. 30% said, just update the internals, for example, no drift, and keep them the same. Compatibility is important to me. So we already have a bit of a conflict here. Which
interesting.
This is indicating something challenging for Nintendo.
Yeah.
Where you've got almost equal groups of people who like the Joy-Con
and who want you to change it.
Strongly dislike them.
Right.
Strongly.
I can see that. The Joy-Con are kind of polarizing.
It's divisive.
Sure. It's a very divisive controller.
14% said, I rarely use Joy-Con, so I don't really care. I would put myself in that camp.
Oh my gosh, really?
I don't play as... unless I am on an airplane, I'm not playing handheld mode very often.
Okay.
I'm the person who's happy about that Pro
controller.
The
Pro controller, yeah, sure.
Because I love the Pro controller. 9% says focus on ergonomics over adding new functionality.
Oh, just making them more comfortable, maybe like a
That's
proper
one of my
grip.
Issues.
Yeah.
I do not find it comfortable to hold, and when you're using it individually, it's just comically small. And then a mere 1% says no detachable controllers at all, like a Switch Lite.
Ooh,
so people do like the idea of the detachable controllers in Joy-Con, just maybe not in this same execution as the Switch.
I'm putting myself into the 45% camp.
Really?
Start from scratch. I don't care if my existing Joy-Cons are compatible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's read some comments. Radon says, I feel like their first priority should be to fix the drift, but they should also focus on ergonomics. They're all right when they're in the Joy-Con grip, but using a single Joy-Con sideways is a bit cramped, at least for me.
That's true. Even for me, it's a little, sideways is a little bit cramped.
Yeah. YU says, I've been playing my Wii U recently and I've forgotten just how much better the gamepad feels to play compared to the Switch. My hands sometimes cramp or go numb with more intense games, such as Smash with the Switch. But on the gamepad, while heavier, is so much more comfortable to hold with its curvature and more comfortable triggers and shoulders. I say focus on ergonomics, please.
There's that shelf on the back of the game.
It's not enough.
Gamepad that kind of helps a little bit.
On the gamepad.
Yeah.
Yes, that's a great thing.
I was gonna say that little shelf.
That's very nice.
Weirdly, very like it makes a huge difference.
Yes. Same thing with the Steam Deck too. Like you'd be like, oh my god, this thing is gonna be awful to hold. But they have really taken that into consideration.
Ergonomics.
To make it feel okay.
Yeah.
Finally, Tay120N64 says, I strongly dislike the Joy-Con and would go so far as to say they are Nintendo's worst controller. However, the detachable aspect is critical to the design of the Switch, so I would like the concept to remain. They just need to update the controller itself to be more durable and ergonomic.
Yeah.
I don't mind if my current Joy-Cons don't connect to the Switch 2 if it means I get better controllers.
I agree. I think that the Joy-Con are good in concept, but they can do a lot to update it so that it's a lot better.
Yeah.
Like we've had a lot of issues with Joy-Con beyond the drift. You know, there's some other just hardware type issues with it too.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so
the issue that I have I've never had a drift situation, but I have had just the left Joy-Con connection. I've had a lot of problems with that.
Yeah, yeah.
And we've had that happen to us at events where we've been playing a game.
Mario Kart just disconnected.
I could be sitting like 10 feet away from the Switch, but if there is like even something small impeding that signal, I've never had a controller that's wireless have that problem.
Yeah.
It's very
strange.
It's very strange.
Just like, I would say like simplify. You don't need the crazy like feel the balls in the thing. Like take that out and focus on something else that's more like everyday, you know? I don't know. It seems like they're trying to cram too much in that little tiny thing.
If you make it 25% bigger, maybe that solves a lot of the problems. Because maybe that was the issue. It was like we just shrank down too much tech.
That's the thing.
And it got a little
cramming in that
janky as a result.
Teeny little thing.
Right.
Magnets aren't going to fix that.
You're really mad about magnets.
I'm really confused about the magnets. I think it's really stupid.
I don't think you should read too much into the magnets.
I don't think it's true.
It is interesting that so many people fixated on the magnets when, again, the backwards compatibility, people have been on pins and needles for so long.
No one actually cares. You were right all along.
I will be so right, yeah.
You're so right. This thing is going to be so expensive. They're focusing on stupid, silly things like super strong
$800 magnet.
Yeah.
You need to be the Hulk to take off your Joy-Con.
It's like, imagine those cartoons where like there's a magnet in your back and you're just being controlled by the magnet.
Like a Ratatouille situation?
Yeah, like a Ratatouille situation. Yeah.
Another big thing that happened is we got our Paper Mario Thousand Year Door overview trailer.
Yes, we did get it.
I want your impressions of this because we were just talking about some stuff we wanted to see.
Yeah, it's great. It's fun to see like finally sort of them going through each of the bits. We did note that some of the things that we were wondering would this character and things
answers.
like that still be there. Like Fire Emblem Toad is still there.
Still there, confirmed.
Which is good. Yeah, we don't know about some of the other things. But yeah, other than that, I think we're right on track with it. The game looks really good. You know, they've updated some of the cool things. They also had previews, I think, where they show some of the museum things where you can go and change the music or look at concept art. Like they added some of those things that is always fun for like a remaster or whatever. So you can see like, the older things in the game. So that was neat. They added some like cool fast travel stuff, which is great.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So they are doing some good quality of life things, I think. And yeah, the game continues to look like it's going to be really good. So
yeah, you can get this thing, which will change the music back to the GameCube original if you don't want updated music. But the thing that's got people grousing is that this is running at 30 frames a second. You seem quite upset by this.
Well, I don't know. I've never been like a frames person.
This is what I was ready to point out, which is you seem unable to tell the difference. But you're mad now.
I'm not mad. I'm just a little confused. Once again, like it's crazy that this game was running at 60 frames per second on the GameCube and now runs at 30. But there's been so much conversation around this, and I did read that like little thread from a developer.
The Platinum Games
developer that was talking about this a little bit. And that was a really interesting read. Like, I always knew that. You know, obviously there's going to be so much more that you're doing to, like, get a game to run. And there's so many choices. I think what he was saying that was really, like, just a good reminder is that there's just so many choices you have to make. Like, do you do this thing and have it run really stable at 30 frames, or do you choose to give up a feature or give up a graphical style to run at 60? Like, those are the choices that you have to make. And I'm sure the game is going to be fine. You know, I'm sure the devs are making the right choices to make sure the game is beautiful and runs good and all that stuff. I'm sure that's what they're trying to figure out right now, like that give and take. But it does feel like, when you say it like that, like, it used to run at 60 frames per second, and now on this modern system, 25 years later, it only runs at 30.
Well, it does. I mean, it looks really good.
It looks really good.
Like, I was impressed with the visuals in this trailer.
Yeah, exactly. So it should be fine. But it's like, when you say it like that, I think it just causes people to, like, raise an eyebrow.
Start a petition? Is it time for that?
No.
Those are popular right now.
Are they really?
Yeah.
No! No petitions.
Bring back my 30 frames. Give them back, Nintendo.
And you want 60 frames.
The 30 that I'm missing.
Oh, you're missing
the 30. Those are the ones
30.
that I want back. Yes. Give them back to me. I'm paying good money for these frames.
My frames. $1 per frame.
I'm paying $2 a frame. That's too much. I will not have that. You should start a petition. Last story here is that there will not be a BlizzCon event.
Oh my goodness.
In 2024.
That's crazy.
Wow. They put out a statement. I will read it. After careful consideration over the last year, we at Blizzard have made the decision not to hold BlizzCon in 2024. This decision was not made lightly, as BlizzCon remains a very special event for all of us, and we know many of you look forward to it. While we're approaching this year differently, and as we have explored different event formats in the past, rest assured that we are just as excited as ever to bring BlizzCon back in future years.
Oh.
So,
is this because of the acquisition?
It's not a case where they are ending it forever.
Right.
Just for this year, there will not be one. We went to a BlizzCon in, 2019?
Maybe.
The one that the Diablo was coming to Switch.
Yeah, that was great. That was fun.
So we got to see, that's the only time you've been to a BlizzCon, right?
Yeah.
It's a cool event.
It's a very cool event.
It's a huge event.
It is, yeah.
And that was an event when, Nintendo was thinking about, Nintendo Live-ish events. It's like, we got to send some people to BlizzCon and
to, like, check
scope
it out,
this out.
scope it.
And that was always the takeaway, was like, we're not ready to
hold
an event this size.
They have so much going on there.
But that one that we went to was also the one where they had that really big fan backlash over the mobile game. Diablo game, where they were getting gotcha'd by Q&A in those sessions.
That's bad, yeah.
I feel like maybe just the relationship with the fans is a little bit different now, where not everything is going to be a standing ovation.
Yeah.
So, it could be a case where they just don't have much to talk about.
That's true,
which
too.
is fine.
Yeah.
I do have to imagine that's in the back of their mind of what is the relationship with the fans going to be for any given piece of news, and what's the right way to get a good reaction out of that, because that's really embarrassing at your fan-focused event when people are mad at it.
Right. I wonder if they're just putting their news in, like, Microsoft events, too.
Well, that's the other thing, is...
like the Summer
Microsoft
Game Fest stuff
has their June showcase coming soon.
Right.
That's going to take priority for some sorts of news, depending on what it is. So it's good to know. I like this sentence at the end, that it's not shutting the door.
Right.
But this was such an institution.
I know. For so many years.
For events over the years, it does make me a little bit sad, even though we only went to one. And I don't know... Doing it deciding on a year-to-year basis doesn't feel great to me either. It's like, is this one of the years where we get it or not?
Yeah, it's like maybe they're in a transition where they want to do something different with them or make some big changes to it. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens. But live events still is a little shaky, I think, these days. Yeah.
All right. It's almost time for some questions from our Patreon community. Did you know... on our Patreon page, you can sign up for a free trial.
Wow.
For 1 week. Check it all out. Get some early access. Get into our Discord. Kick the tires. See what it's all about.
The Discord is the best place ever.
Yes.
Not an exaggeration.
You can check that out at patreon.com/KitandKrysta.
Oh, yeah.
All right. First question is from Pie.
I love pie.
That's why this is the first question. I love pie too. Hey,
kinds of pie.
were you involved with games like ARMS, Smash Brothers, and Mario Kart being featured on Conan O'Brien's Clueless Gamer segments? How did these come about, and were Nintendo happy about how the games were portrayed? Thanks, love all the content.
You were there.
ARMS and Mario Kart did Clueless Gamer segments?
I think so.
I forgot about those.
Yeah, I think so. You were there for Smash.
I did the Smash one. We're going to save that for a bigger story time, but just kind of wanted to tee it up to say, yes, we were involved. The Smash Brothers one was this crazy thing where we got a request from them like the week before E3. Yeah. This was the Wii U version.
Right.
And I remember sending it off. We were talking about it and like, this is a cool opportunity, but it's a real long shot.
Yeah.
Because, we were going into the home stretch of E3. Obviously, there's always concerns about the confidentiality and all of that. So we decided, well, we'll send this off to Japan, but we're not going to be surprised when we get a real quick no thank you.
Right.
And lo and behold, they said, great, let's do it.
Woo! Then we had to actually do it.
Quite a surprise to me.
Yeah.
But I got to go down for that and see how they do that. Get to meet Conan O'Brien and all that stuff. So we'll talk. We'll do the full rundown of that in a story time.
Yeah. These sort of show integrations, Conan, Jimmy Fallon, like they were always interesting and things that people at Nintendo were always like excited about.
Yeah.
But they made for some unexpected things that it is sort of outside the realm of what Nintendo is comfortable with as well. Because you're not dealing with like people that are super familiar with video games and even like production that is very versed in how to handle, pre-production builds or video games. So it was always like a bit dramatic.
Yeah. The Clueless Gamer stuff has become mostly a sponsored thing, which I think has kind of hurt. Those first couple of Clueless Gamers were like really amazing because it was like we're picking games that are interesting to them and are kind of big games, and they're really like
they get like a really authentic reaction,
right? And they're riffing on it in these ways that you don't normally see. Whereas now maybe it doesn't have that sort of same excitement.
They're paying for it
because it's a sponsored thing, and they're just kind of got to do it. Yeah. Daichi has the next question. What is a question you will not answer? Y'all have given satisfactory answers to many questions, but where is the line, for example, Codenames, games pre-built, or Mr. Miyamoto secretly liking Sonic more than Mario?
That's not a secret. I'm just kidding.
So we noted Codenames are something that we cannot share.
Right.
I think it's anything that like you could call it a
internal
trade secret are things that we are not able to talk about. We would not want to talk about. So the good news is there's plenty of things that are up there for us to be able to share and talk about. But there's definitely a good chunk of things that we just have filed away of.
Right. Let's talk to each other, but not of anybody else.
Good conversation for us.
Yeah, yes. Exactly. And now when we hang out with our friends that still work at Nintendo, we tell them very specifically, don't tell us anything. Yeah. We don't want to know anything. Yeah. Don't even hint at anything.
There's also stories about people that are maybe like veer into the like too personal or like I don't know if this person would want me to tell this story. Where you don't want to like burn somebody, like telling a story that they
sometimes we just like not say their names or something
have not signed off on, right?
Yeah. So to like keep it a little bit more anonymous, but I mean there is good and bad things we say about people, and we don't want to get too personal about it either. Yeah.
Gartooth next. Hi, Kit and Krysta. What is the biggest time you ever felt betrayed by your passion for gaming? Whether it was a game that disappointed you or some bad gaming news that really got to you.
Oh, betrayed.
Yes.
You go first.
I have two, and they're things that I've talked about before.
Okay.
The first is the ill-fated pre-Thanksgiving get-together with the Wii U and Nintendo Land, which that's a good word for it. I felt betrayed by the product that I had put all this work into.
Yeah, that's true.
Betrayed by the company that always had such a good track record of delivering in those sorts of moments, just absolutely failing multiple times. In front of me and my friends. Painful. The other one is with Smash Brothers Brawl on the Wii. I was so excited that this was going to have online play. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is going to unlock a whole new way for me to love and play Smash Brothers.
Oh no.
I am so hyped. I'm so excited. This is going to change my life. And then the game comes out, and I tried to play it online, and it's literally a slideshow. Unplayable mess. And once again, I was like, how did this happen? I don't know how this happened. Who said yes? This is an acceptable.
Unacceptable.
This is an acceptable thing for us to ship in this game.
Yeah.
Something went terribly wrong here.
Yeah.
Once again, I felt betrayed by that moment.
Yeah.
Deeply.
These are very reasonable things to feel that way about. I would say really recently is the Pokemon stuff. Like, I really did feel betrayed by it. Like, honestly, like, people say that I was so harsh and, you know, a lot of people were saying, like, you guys aren't real Pokemon fans. But, like, I really was, the last few Pokemon games, I really was, except for Arceus, I was really disappointed. And I was like...
Starting when?
I guess starting with Let's Go.
Was that before Sword and Shield?
Yes.
Why with Let's Go?
Because that was such a baby game.
I like Let's Go.
I didn't like that at all. It was so, like, basic. I felt like the mainline Pokemon games, I loved them so much. I grew up with them. They were such a big part of my childhood. And with every one, like Let's Go and then Sword and Shield and then Scarlet and Violet, with every single one, I was just more and more disappointed. And I felt like I was further and further away from my childhood love of Pokemon. It was so sad. And we had Arceus, which I loved, Pokemon Unite, which I loved, but those were always like sort of like side games. So like not having sort of this main Pokemon game, you know, the mainline games to like really get excited about, I was like really like, it was like sad. It was really sad. Like you used to look forward to these coming out in November. We worked on so many of them, and I would love to work on them and like play them, especially in like the 3DS era, you know, DS, 3DS era. And now it just feels different. Now it just feels like they don't feel good. And I want them to come back to being good, but I think it's going to take them a little time, you know, hopefully to get back to a good mainline Pokemon game. Hopefully this like little break that they're taking will help. But yeah, I felt really sad about it. And like the more I thought about it and the more things that happened after that, I was like, yeah, this is like a closing of a chapter. Like it's so sad.
Okay.
Sorry, Pokemon.
More to Crabs. Ilmer is next. Hi, Kit and Krysta. Recently you talked about your day in the life as a Nintendo employee. It was very insightful on how packed and busy you guys were while still doing a weekly Nintendo Minute. Kudos to you two. Please sleep. My question is, how often did you two travel for work? If you traveled, were you exempt from attending meetings? Did you guys follow any routines during travels in the same way you followed routines for your day-to-day?
We traveled quite a lot, actually, at Nintendo.
Yeah, I remember when I was like applying for the job, it said like 30% travel. And I thought, well, that's a lot.
And they were not making that up.
It's really a lot.
It really is 30%, sometimes more. Yeah. We would get into these cycles too, like around the holiday time where you just be like back and forth to the East Coast on press tours and doing lots of events. But I would say at least once a month we would have some trip that we would have to go on, whether it's going to the Seattle office or going to an event or doing a press tour. A lot of trips to either Seattle, Los Angeles, New York.
Those were the main ones.
Those are the main ones. We sometimes go to like weird places. Like I took a trip to Game Informer in Minneapolis, right?
Yeah.
Like those kinds of things, which was really fun. We did international trips to Japan, obviously. Not too often, but maybe like once a year towards like the latter part of our career when we were doing bigger meetings. Obviously, big events like E3 and PAX and stuff like that. Boston, we used to go there a lot for PAX East. So yeah, it was quite a lot of travel. And the funny, not so funny thing about it was you would be expected to do all of your normal work while you were traveling.
That was the hard part, yes.
That was really hard, especially when you were in a different time zone sometimes, and it's like...
And you're preoccupied doing something else.
Right.
For why you're on this trip in the first place.
Right, right. But like the East Coast ones were really rough because you would have to like work the West Coast schedule. So at 6 o'clock your time was 3 o'clock their time. Sometimes there was a lot of meetings at like in the afternoon that you were expected to join. Like those Japan meetings start at like 5. And if you were expected to join, it's 8 o'clock your time, you know? So it would be pretty rough to do that. And yeah, you were not exempt from attending certain meetings, and sometimes they would like if you try to get out of it, your boss would call you and be like, no, you need to.
Yeah, you'd have to like call into this meeting from some like taxi or something. It's like this is not a good experience
or
for
like
anybody.
You're in the middle of a press tour. You have to excuse yourself from this press tour.
It's like I thought what I was here to do was actually important.
Yeah,
Turns out
like
it's not.
Showing like really top New York media, like this like important game or product, and then you're like, I got to step away to take this call for 30 minutes or whatever it is. Like it was kind of strange, you know. So that wasn't good. But yeah, like that was the hard part about traveling. But during the travel, it was really fun too. Like we got to see a lot of new places. We ate at really good restaurants. We would love traveling with like, so sometimes like we would have like regulars on our media tours, for example, like the same people from the Nintendo Treehouse would fly out, or the same people that would help us with all of our product, like pre-release product would come out, and we became really good friends with them. Like we would have these routines, like we would go to New York every year, for example, for like an October media tour, and we would do these things like we would go walk along the High Line because the weather is really nice, or like, oh, this is our favorite like coffee place, or let's go get bagels because the New York bagels are so good. And so we would have these, and we would definitely like hang out with each other and stuff, and everybody was really friendly, and we became really good friends, you know, on these trips because, yeah, if you can travel with somebody, like, you know, you're gonna be cool with them. You know, it's tough to do that. So
yeah, I think that was kind of a mindset was, you know, if you're getting sent on this trip, like, well, let's take advantage of that and you know get something out of it,
right?
Versus like locking yourself in a hotel room, and just toiling away on email endlessly. It's like you know, get out, see the city, do something that's.
We like have a little break, go to like the museum or something like that too. This is really nice, yeah.
Mr. Chris is next. Non-gaming question. Kit, I just got a manager promotion today.
Congratulations!
Do you have any advice for someone stepping into that kind of role? I'd love to hear your thoughts or things you wished you knew when you went into that position. So you're in this position too, so.
Well, there you go.
Share some insights as well. So I think the main thing is just like knowing like your job is no longer just about you.
Right.
It's about looking out for this other person, and you are going to be spending, you know, depending on how many people you have reporting into you, some amount of your day, or in some cases, a whole day will be dedicated to, you know, catching up with these people and understanding what's going on with them, and you know, if they have any challenges in their way, like really, you know, helping them find solutions to those. So I think that's the biggest kind of jarring thing that some people have as they move into this role. And again, like it's always shocking how little companies do to prepare literally anybody for like kind of the mindset shift that comes from this.
Right.
Of like, you are no longer just the person, you know, doing the work. You are enabling other people to do their best work.
Exactly. I think that's the most challenging part as well, is like, instead of thinking like, I have this checklist of things that I need to accomplish, and if I accomplish this list of to-dos, like I've done my job. Like you need to accomplish that list of to-dos, but also be really focused on the needs of your team, and like you really have to like understand like the psychology of people, I think, because everybody is going to approach their work in a different way. Everybody has their strengths and weaknesses. It's now up to you to find out what those are and help them. You know, like if somebody has a certain strength in an area, like give them more stuff that can showcase that. Like if they have a weakness, like it's your job to like support them so they can like, you know, get better from something that is like holding them back. So all of that, like nobody's gonna like stand in a line and just like list to you like, hi boss, this is my strengths and weaknesses. Like you have to like actually like dig those out. So that's just like a different kind of skill set, I would say, than being like not a people manager, and not having to worry about it. So yeah, I would say take some time to really get to know your new team or the person that you're managing. Like really try to build that foundation of trust so that person can come to you and tell you things, and like start there, because your new job is to help that person. So yeah.
That's the interesting thing about a lot of companies is as you progress, you know, most places, like, well, now you're going to become a manager because you're progressing upward in your career.
Yeah.
But for some people, that is not like the right path.
I know, yeah.
Where, you know, maybe they are just this incredible individual contributor, like they just have this talent that very few people have. Like in that case, you know, maybe being a manager is not the best use of their time if they truly are like the only person who can do this, or they're just so much better. There's other people that just don't have an interest in doing this, or, you know, really are not interested in connecting with people or helping people at all.
It's really hard.
But again, like, it's just kind of the progression of being in a workplace is sometimes they get put in these roles. So I kind of wish companies would be a bit more active in really evaluating, like, who is actually a good fit for this versus, yeah, everybody's going to do it, you got to do it.
Yeah.
And if it's not, like, you know, finding other ways for them to still progress in their career, but not have it, like, come at the expense of potentially hurting somebody else's career.
Right, because if that's your only path of career progression, but you're like just not cut out to be a manager, that can be really tough on you, but also the people that you manage. Like, there's so many people at Nintendo that were managers that had no business. Yeah,
they were just like basically absentee managers, where it's like I could care less. I have these people. I'm not really focused on them. I'm not invested. I'm more interested in what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, so, exactly. Yeah, but I'm sure you'll be a great manager, and I think, you know, learning about your team and building that trust is the first step to becoming a good manager.
Yeah.
So.
Last question is from Tedium Format. I like the name.
I like the name.
Hello, Kit and Krysta. Being in my mid-30s, I definitely grew up in a time where video games were commonly seen as brain rot and, quote, a total waste of time.
Uh-oh.
It's so comforting to see a title shift where games are being recognized for their potential to help heal and soothe and bring meaningful joy and community to people's lives. I went to PAX for the first time this year, and the diversity of identities and expressions was just unbelievably awesome to witness. When I was a kid, I could never have imagined something like PAX existing. Within the walls of Nintendo, did anyone ever discuss the shame that some kids feel about gaming, be it from their parents or their communities? Do you have any tips on how to help encourage the young ones in our lives build a healthy relationship with games? I want to thank you so much for being a part of my journey, where after abandoning video games for almost 15 years, I finally found my way back. I am so grateful.
Aww.
Very nice message there.
Yeah, we would often have discussions about like the perception of video games, especially with our like team that would do a lot of, this is so boring, but they would do a lot of like work and communication with like the lobbyists in Washington.
Right.
But like the
fat cats in Washington.
The fat cats, yes, on Capitol Hill. But they oftentimes still had the unfortunate sort of perception that video games were like you said, quote unquote, like wastes of time, or it's like rotting the kids' minds. Oh my gosh, these kids are playing Call of Duty now. They're like shooting up the schools. Like a lot of that perception still existed, and so parts of our team were you know, working to like sort of fight that perception and talk about some of the good that video games can do as well. So that certainly was a discussion within Nintendo, and of course Nintendo had a lot of games that were very like family friendly, so we'd always be a bit, you know, we count ourselves a bit lucky that Nintendo games were not as like violent as some of the other publishers. And, you know, we had plenty of examples of how Nintendo games have helped people or have, you know, brought people together. And so that was something that was sort of unique to Nintendo. But these conversations about like the perception of video games, I think still exist out there, but I agree that it is getting a little bit better, and especially with like the indie games and stuff like that, there seems to be so many more perspectives and story and art forms that can be sort of told in a format of a video game that people are starting to really understand nowadays, which is great.
Yeah, I was trying to think, and I think I was pretty lucky that at most points of my life, like I was in a group where games were supported, and you know, even as I was getting older, it was not like, oh, you're too old for that, or you got to give that up, you got to move on from that. Mm-hmm. I think maybe college was the closest to that, where there was just not that kind of community in that college. But even on like my freshman dorm, like I found people, and we still played a lot of games.
Yeah.
So it's not like it was just like completely frowned upon.
Right.
But I do, you do kind of get the sense that some people, maybe as they, get into their 20s, like there's some amount of people who are just like, I shouldn't be doing this anymore, whether I enjoy it or not. Like this is childish, or I have more important things to devote my time to.
Do you though?
It's just like, I don't know, I think some people just, they're like, even beyond just games, like I'm an adult now, I need to get serious about my life, and I need to yada yada. And it's like, sometimes I feel bad about that mindset, because it's like, what are you leaving behind? Like, are you still...
what are you gaining? Are you
still a well-rounded person?
Yeah. What are you gaining from leaving it behind?
I often ask myself, what percentage of adults of, let's say, 25 to 50 years old, how many of them have a single hobby? One hobby.
They must have.
I don't know.
Really?
I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of people who have no hobby.
Really? That's so sad.
Binging junky Netflix shows is not a hobby.
That's not a hobby.
That's not a hobby.
No, that's a bad habit.
No.
Yeah.
Like an actual hobby that they devote significant time to and want to keep up with.
Yeah.
I worry about that. I was like, I don't think a lot of people have an appropriate outlet through a hobby.
Yeah. I definitely had some of this challenging like perception of video games growing up. Like my parents did not approve. Especially when I was in high school, it was very much like, you need to study like all the time. Like you have to literally spend all your waking hours studying or doing like after school like activities like that are related to studying, like going to tutoring classes or like playing an instrument or doing community service, all in the pursuit of getting into a good college. Like that is your focus. You cannot be playing these video games. So I really didn't play many video games in high school, and I feel like it was just like the pressure of like trying to get into college was like really the big focus when I was in high school. I came back to video games in college, where like it was exactly that. People around me, like I joined a lot of like different student groups, and we would have like video games in the common areas, and I started playing video games again with like a lot of these GameCube games were with groups of people, a lot of these SNES games were in these common rooms, and so that's where I found my way back to video games as well. And that's when you were like away from your parents, and so you could do whatever you wanted because you're in college. And that was great, because that's where I think you really learn a lot about like what you do truly love. That's why they call it like, your formidable years or whatever, because you're really developing into like you as an adult, and yeah, it is. I'm really glad that happened, because I would be really sad if I, left that behind. Like you said, after abandoning it for so many years, when you find your way back, you feel really good. But I do think it's better now. I hope it's better now. I feel like video games are seen as more of an art form at times. I think that there's also like more things available to kids. Like I have cousins that went to like video game coding camp. Like that exists. That did not exist when I was a kid. Like that's so cool. Like he showed me after his like summer camp, like the game that he made. I was like blown away. I was like, this is so cool. So I feel like hopefully there are more things like that give video games like more legitimacy, and it does seem like it's more accepted now, so that's good.
Yeah. This point near the end of healthy relationships with games, like something I do worry about is, some of these there was that report from a few weeks ago of like, oh, the most played games are this handful of games that have been around for several years.
Yeah.
Of like
Fortnite, Roblox.
If that's like what you come up with, like I wonder, like, do you end up getting addicted to those games, and they're always trying to sell you something as well? Like, what does that do as far as creating a relationship with the game? Especially when you're like, you might be in like a peer group who's like, oh my God, you got to get the so-and-so skin or blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Or you're
like
a dweeb
all of our friends are getting it.
Right. It's like, that's not something we really had to worry
true.
About. It was like, well, we played the game, we finished, and maybe we'll get another one on our birthday.
We didn't get like the microtransactions.
It's not like, oh, we need the Robux for the Roblox and the whatever. So
I do hear that a lot.
That's like a different dynamic than we had to deal with that I do think about sometimes.
That is interesting. It's definitely a different environment. Yeah. I will say that balance is also everything as well. Like, don't spend all your time, indoors playing video games. Like, it is good to have just general balance in your life. So.
All right, another great batch of questions.
Yeah.
Thank you to everybody who sent one in. do some Patreon shout-outs, shall we?
We shall.
Right.
First of all, our wonderful final boss, Aaron Hash. Da, 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 da.
There he is. Literally him right there.
We love Aaron. Aaron just got his April surprise box. I hope he was surprised.
For some of our, well, I was going to say what it might be, but maybe not. Okay.
He's listening. You
Zip
gotta
it.
surprise
Yes.
him.
Okay.
Here we go with the superstars. Ben Eichhorn,
MaruMayhem.
Eigenverse,
KissMyFlapjack.
Mike Chin,
Roy Eschke.
switching it up _
vgmlife.
Link, the hero of Wins,
Angela Bycroft.
Thomas O'Rourke,
Kyle LeBoeuf.
Roberto Nieves,
Fredrik Ulf Konradsson.
Andrew Youhas,
Chili.
Brustache.
And Simon.
Yay!
MaruMayhem recently surprised us. One day in the Discord, he said, I've been messing around with 3D modeling.
Yeah.
And I made this 3D model
I'm gonna put it here.
of your logo.
I'll put it here, right here.
And it's like my mind was blown.
I'm like, how did you do this exactly?
This is incredible.
Yeah, we gotta figure out a more permanent
We're gonna be using
place
that
for
somewhere.
it, but I'm
Yes.
literally gonna put it in this podcast
So
so you
cool.
can see it.
Yeah.
So cool. Very talented people in the community. One Up Club, here we go. A. Rom Burgundy,
Alejandro.
Archimedes,
Astrodev.
Awesome 46,
Bad Moon Horizon.
Ben GB,
Bookem Dano.
Bookishly Fab,
Brad SF56.
Brandon Cavapil,
Brooke Obscura.
Brovac Novak,
Called to Space Cowboy.
Cameron,
Chadir.
Chelly Squirrel,
Chris Cube.
Christopher Lay,
Captain Alex.
Crimcat,
Christabal.
C. Roper 17,
Doxon.
Doinko,
Elite Peach.
Esparts 50,
Fart Priest 69.
Furbound,
Fernie and Jess Forever.
Fox the Ploy,
Garrett Hulfith.
Garth the Wolf,
Gartooth.
Guilty Phoenix 42,
Heroic.
Iris Marin,
Jay Rando.
Jeffrey Hernandez,
Jerry 92602.
Jesse Hernandez,
Joe Encarnacion.
thank God, Jonathan Rowe,
Jordan Collette.
Jordan Hemmerly,
Joshua Clements.
Juju Fruit,
Justin Lemminger.
Kawa 2796,
Keith Kwan.
Kevin Collette, Kevin Delane, whoops,
Kilo Kibo.
Christopia Party With Me,
Kyle Gamer Barry Rookie.
Kyle Kretzer,
Lazy Cat for Coffee.
Lex,
Lit.
Macho Potato,
Mad Dog 5981.
Magnificent Easy G plus Callie Marie,
Marky Man 64.
Mario Man 392,
Naked Dragon 101.
Medallion,
Megan.
Michael Cravens,
Mikey.
Mr. Ryan 07,
Motomania.
Mr. Andy Pond,
Mr. Beans and Dip.
MSN Poke Gamer,
Mytran.
Nasir,
Nathan Burkhart.
Nayef E,
Ninja 11.
Panda Buns,
Peg.
Palsy Pace,
Paul Gale Network.
Prime Factor,
Prince Charmless.
Raver,
Rain Tech.
Record Rumble,
Rob Osborne.
Rocks,
Rayonetta.
Sakura Sky,
Sharif Jackson.
Sheer Cold Vanille,
Shinryu.
Schmiddles,
Slowbro.
Snazzle,
Spicy Munchkin.
Steel Citrone,
Tales of Link.
Tay 120 and 64,
Teal Fox 64.
The Keggers,
The Shark Among Men.
Thomas Alvarez,
Three Rivers.
Timmy V,
Topher Schmofer.
Tor Cheeks,
Totally Joe Ed.
Travis Torline,
Trajowie.
Tugs Puppy Bear,
Tusku.
Tyler Geis,
Video Game Stupid.
Vidge Mictor,
Viridian.
VirtualBot,
Weeb Kingdom.
WG Grizzy,
What up, Khalil?
Wayu,
Wicked Davy.
Will Johnson,
Zelgra.
Zapieti.
And Droid.
Teal Fox 64 was formidable last night at our One Up Club meetup. We played Splatoon 3.
Yeah.
And we were bad. You were good. I was bad.
I was on a winning streak.
But Teal Fox
You said
was a menace.
Just trying to survive.
Was a menace.
Yeah, just trying to survive.
To Splatoon Society. Splatoon. It was so fun though. Oh my gosh, that game was really fun in that setting, I felt. Yeah. All right. If you'd like to join us and support this here podcast, then join us today at patreon.com/KitandKrysta.
Another great thing you can do is if you are watching on video, you can go ahead and subscribe, give this video a thumbs up, and leave us a comment. And if you're listening on an audio service, you can also subscribe, give us a 5-star rating, and a written review if you please.
And we're on the socials. We're on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, and Threads.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Bye.